Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Katie. I'm so glad we're finally going to get to meet up like this. I'm sorry the other one kind of got crazy, but here we are. So
Indeed.
it's great to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. Oh, hi, Mr. Felix.
Good man.
I just want to say hi to everybody and thank you for joining us. My name is Barbara Bracken, and I feel very lucky to be the chair of the Music Commission. And with me today is Katie Burk, our wonderful new organ scholar. And we're just here to kind of get to know you a little bit better and say thank you for taking time with us.
Thank you.
Well, again, welcome to Portland. It was kind of a rough beginning, but we're sure glad that you feel like you kind of settled in, I hope.
Oh, yes. I will say the smoke was a little surreal for sure. But I'm glad that we're back to having beautiful blue skies, at least for now. So
it is beautiful, and you know, each season has its beauty, and I'll tell you, our cool falls are certainly one of my favorite. Well, I'm sure everybody has heard you play our wonderful Rosales organ the last couple of Sundays and gotten to hear you sing. And oh my goodness, that Sunday that you, during the smoke, that you stepped in and sang every piece and played and everything. So we're really grateful already to see your many skills. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd kind of like to go back to your early days, if you don't mind kind of going back to that. Tell us about you and your twin sister meeting Bruce.
Oh my. So my twin sister's name is Maggie, and she's working on her doctorate in choral conducting at University of Michigan right now. But we have always attended Royal School of Church Music summer events ever since we were about 10. And we went to one, I think we were 11 or 12, I forget what, but I think we were about 11. And we went to a Royal School of Church Music training course over the summer in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And Bruce was the clinician that year. And, you know, we were brand new, didn't know anybody, and we were, you know, some of the youngest kids there, so we were pretty quiet. But for whatever reason, our day off on Thursday, we went mini golfing as a large group. And for whatever weird reason, Maggie and I and Bruce ended up at the same point on the course. Like the three of us were kind of traveling around together. And I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember I learned that Bruce said he doesn't like ketchup, and I thought that was sacrilegious at the time. Couldn't believe it. But yes, so that was my first meeting with Bruce was on a putt-putt golf course in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So
I didn't know Bruce even knew which end of a golf club to hold, so that makes me happy. That's funny. That's funny. Well, what can you tell maybe two events or people that impacted you most as a youth?
Oh gosh. Well, I'll have to start with my parents, obviously, but both my parents are musicians. My dad is the organist and choir director at the Episcopal Cathedral in Topeka, Kansas. So obviously we were kind of cathedral rats as kids, always around. So in that way, I got the bug from him. And my mom plays the piano and sings in the cathedral choir in Topeka. So music all around the house, lots of times. And then I suppose I had a number of really astoundingly amazing female choir directors, kind of all the way through, starting when I sang at a community choir for middle school and high school students in my hometown of Lawrence, Kansas. My high school choir director. These are really strong, artistic, and like fabulous women that were such amazing role models for me and my sister. And I suppose it's due to their teaching and example that it's a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So,
you know, it shows the influence that adults can have, positive influence, especially on kids, and how important it is that you realize your capacity as an adult to impact somebody. Well, yeah. So early on, did you know that you were going to follow a musician's path then pretty early on?
I don't know that it was initially, I mean, we always loved playing and singing and things like that. But I think it wasn't till I think as soon as I started getting involved with the Royal School courses over the summer, and by the time I got to high school, I was pretty sure that I wanted to do some form of music, but I didn't actually play the organ yet. So that was kind of a later addition compared to some of the other things that I was already doing. So I would probably say around high school was when I was like, yeah, I think I can't imagine doing anything else. So.
Well, we're certainly grateful that you followed that path. So tell me about, you also have taught middle and high school. And so tell me about your experience doing that, and some of the things that you've added to or dropped off or whatever in that experience.
Sure, yeah. I got my undergraduate degrees are in music education and organ because my dad, we said Maggie and I said we wanted to learn to play the organ. He said, okay, but if you want me to help finance your degree, you will get a teaching license, because he knows how tough it can be to be a performer. And also he was a teacher too, a public school music teacher as well. And so because of that mandate, and it turned out I learned a ton doing it. All the experiences I had learning to be a teacher and then teaching for 2 years after my undergrad it shaped me hugely. So I taught my first year out of school, taught mostly high school with some middle school peppered in there. And then the second year I taught pretty much middle school all the time, which was quite the experience. Some days it felt a little bit like an exercise in futility for me to be standing in front of 40 8th grade boys. So it was just a lot, but I learned so much about humans, maybe much more than music. Learned a lot about humanity, and learned a lot about sort of logistics and running a program, and also pacing how to pace rehearsals and teaching, and looking at long-term projects, and how to kind of get there one step at a time. So just, it was a really, really valuable time for me. And the reason that I left teaching was not because it was kind of a weird conglomeration of circumstances wherein I found out that my position in my building was being cut from full-time to 60% time. So I wasn't going to have benefits anymore. And I had a really bad day around Thanksgiving and applied for graduate school on a whim, just because I had a really bad day. But the day before, so I found out the day before I flew to Indiana that my job was going to be cut down, and didn't want to stay. But I ended up getting a sweet teaching gig at Indiana University, so I was able to keep teaching, different subject, of course, but able to keep teaching, and so that was a really nice transition that could never have predicted. So.
Well, I think you'll find your stride again on that when Trinity brings in our youth and children and young adult choirs. And have you had a chance to meet any of them yet, or?
I met a handful of the choristers, the choir school kids, when I was last spring post interview, just at some social Zoom gatherings. And then I've met a couple of the oldest choir school folks in person.
Good.
But it's just a very, very small number. So I'm hoping that there'll be some sort of opportunity, especially once we get Zoom fired up here at the church, to do some individual coaching, at least over Zoom, voice lessons, that sort of thing. Is that kind of what we're waiting on, is to get our Zoom up at least 98%? Yes, exactly. Bruce and I are planning on having individual coaching sessions on things like music theory, their Royal School training, voice lessons, short segments, but just to keep people involved, and so I can actually meet some people. So. Mm-hmm. Well, I was interesting. I don't know if you got to see after church, probably not yesterday, Gardner went through a lot of the updates, and oh my gosh, the technology that's been installed, in the cathedral, and he said it can be moved around, but I know they're making strides, and he said they're still waiting on more. So. Mm-hmm.
I hope that'll come together really quickly. Well, you sure did a great job on the theory classes during Music Month last month, and yeah, again, just so interesting. And I loved how you and Bruce, just kind of played with each other and reminded each other of things, and that was really fun to be a part of. Thank you for all your time there. Do you have a favorite topic in terms of teaching?
Oh gosh. I always say like my first love is directing, is teaching choirs, teaching singing. But when it comes to like classroom topics, when I was teaching at IU, I was teaching a class called ear training and oral skills, which is for undergraduate music majors, where they basically is a class where you have to completely rethink how you think about music and how you approach and interact with music if you've never done that kind of training before. Learning to hear something and write it down, learning to hear something and be able to know how, like, the architecture of what you're hearing in a way. Learn how things fit together, learn the rules and why certain parts of music follow rules and why they make sense. And for some people, it's quite a challenging subject because it's, if you're a flautist, for instance, and you've only ever worried about your line of music, your one, whatever note you're playing at that given time, asking you to think about what the rest of the entire orchestra is doing at the same time and hear it that way is totally different. But I love watching people light up and they're like, oh, that's what that is. Now I get it. So I guess I really like making people aware on a different level of something that they're already really familiar with, but just seeing it in a totally new way. So.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Well, that must have added to your ability to do composition and everything then, to, like you say, understand the entire score.
Mm-hmm. And you don't really, in my experience, I don't really know something until I teach it, because then you really got to know it. So that definitely helped me be a better listener, helped me be a better choir director, helped me be a more technically capable composer, for sure. So
awesome. Well, having been on your search committee, which I felt very honored to be, I was reading back through your resume and I came across two terms that I was not familiar with: housemaster and compline shola. What do those mean?
The word housemaster is a job title that we use for Royal School of Church Music summer courses. So at the course in Pennsylvania where I grew up and now have been a staff member for the last several years, the housemaster assists the guest clinicians. So somebody like Bruce will come in. And the course in Pennsylvania that I go to is almost 200 people some years. So we split up into different groups to rehearse sometimes. Like, so the adults will rehearse with one housemaster. My sister and I have usually been working with the high school girls. And, they're all divided by gender and age. So for the last, 6-7 years, my sister and I have teamed up to teach and rehearse that particular group at that Royal School course.
Okay.
And then the Compline Schola. So Compline, the Office of Compline is the final service in the daily office right before you go to bed. And at that Pennsylvania Royal School course, there's a long tradition of the adults singing each night this, like, the chanted version of Compline.
Okay.
So Maggie and I, again, my sister and I, have been conducting and composing for the soprano and alto Compline Schola. So it's the adult sopranos and altos of the course that get together every afternoon to learn the chant and also to learn anthems to sing for the office. So we've been doing that for quite a while too.
Oh my gosh, that's fabulous! Wow. What and I would think a totally different use of voice and music and organ and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually all a cappella, so no organ. And
okay.
it's a very introspective service. Learning how to chant, and so this is a lot of what we talk about. But also, and then we don't get a lot of opportunity, especially as adult sopranos and altos, I think, to sing with just other sopranos and altos and have that treble choir experience. And so I love when I see these people who come from all over the country to come to these courses, these working people who are not primarily musicians, they just do it for fun. They volunteer in their church choir. For them to have that experience of singing in a treble choir for the first time, that's so cool. So it's really fun for me that way.
Will we need to wait for full choir before you can do that at Evensong, or is that something that can be adapted?
That's a great question. I'm not quite sure what Bruce has up his sleeve. But he definitely knows about it, and that certainly could, I would think, be something on the barometer for the future. So. Oh,
great! Oh, I hope so. I'd really like to understand more of that. So you've been a busy woman, graduated summa cum laude at St. Olaf, yay, master's at Indiana, and now you're working on your doctorate. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you expect your completion date to be?
So I have now finished all my doctoral coursework for a degree in organ at IU. I also have we have to have two minor fields as well as your major field. Mine's organ. But my minor fields are music theory and choral conducting. So I've taken extensive coursework in both of those fields as well. I've taken both of my minor field exams this past summer. So those are done, but I'll be taking my big organ exam probably sometime in December or January. So prayers and peace and blessings appreciated for that. It's like an 8-hour horrible written thing.
Wow.
And then I will have to do one more oral exam, and then after that, I'll really start it on my dissertation, which is on the music of Herbert Howells, one of Bruce and I's favorite composers. So I want to ask to finishing up. I think it really depends on what happens with COVID and everything else, but I would, if this summer is lighter like it was last summer, just because of, stuff being still shut down, I would hope to at least get a lot of the dissertation done this summer. My sister will probably graduate a year from May, so I have to at least match her. She started 2 years after I did, so there's no way that I'm going to let her beat me.
Will you return to Indiana for that, or is that something that you can record or do here? Or
everything's remote now, so I'll do all my exams and until COVID is passed, whenever that is. I can assume that everything will be remote at this point. So awesome.
Well, fast forward to your coming to Trinity then, and glad that you were selected as our scholar. So like I said, your arrival came with some challenges, but so far, what do you hope to learn most from Bruce as you find your feet into this new position?
Oh man, that's tough to choose. So far, and given what we've been able to do, with the choir school and everything being out, I just relish the opportunity to listen to him play hymns on Sunday morning, because he's so creative and so thoughtful about praying with his fingers and his toes in a way, with how diligent he is with illustrating the poetry and things like that, and facilitating singing, just in the way his system for playing is so easy to sing with. But hopefully, at some point when we can get the choir school back in here, I'm really looking forward to observing and working with him with teaching kids, because obviously he had an impact on me, even though I don't remember it super well, but because it's been, that's ancient history. I'm turning 30 this year, so that was when I was 11, so it's a long time ago. Those are my top two things, but I could go on. So.
Well, I love how you put that he's playing his poetry, and I think that's absolutely right. I think that's a lovely way to describe that. So we've certainly kept you busy this first couple of months already. have you had a chance to get out and explore around Portland a little bit and find some favorites already?
Oh, yes. So when you live in the same place that you work, you need a weekend to not be home.
Yeah.
We usually try to go see something at least. We've been to a couple of really beautiful state parks. Been to some wineries, both in the Sir Willamette Valley area and also up in the Gorge. And we have a couple other some wish list items that we hope we can get to at some point here.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, definitely been able to get out, and we've gotten a lot of excellent restaurant outside seating and delivery and takeaway. So we've been enjoying the restaurant scene for sure. Also, I went to a Vietnamese grocery store last weekend that I could have spent literally hours in looking at all the cool stuff. So.
Well, I know you're both foodies, and I hope that little kitchen up there gives you an opportunity to experiment a little bit.
Oh, we've been putting it to good use. Don't worry.
Good. Well, I know your mom was just here, and I hope that you were able to get out and show her some of your favorites too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to knowing Dan a little bit better. How did you convince him to come along with you?
Well, I'm so sad that he's not here to tell you this story. Because he got a new job working he's an engineer. He's working in Forest Grove, but he's for the next 2 weeks going to be working 12-hour shifts to get to know the plant and the operators and things like that. So unfortunately, he can't tell you the story. But last week, so we started dating a year ago in May. A year and a half ago in May.
Okay.
And Dan plays the guitar and writes songs, and I was gone a lot that summer doing choir camps and whatever else, all sorts of gigs. And when at one point I came back from one, and he had written a song called "Where You Want to Go," and he wrote a song basically saying wherever you want to go, I want to go with you. Because I was pretty upfront when we met that I was like, probably can't stay in Bloomington. He's from Bloomington in Indiana, where I went to school. But I was like, I just don't, there's probably likelihood of me getting a job here. There aren't that many jobs for people like me here. So, but then he wrote that song and he played it at an open mic. I was like, oh my goodness. My sister cried when I told her about it.
It's very touching.
So he was kind of always, he was ready to go whenever I was ready to go. So it didn't take much convincing.
Well, I think it's great, and I hope that he falls in love with Portland, as we do. Hope you do too, and that again, you'll just find lots of different things to enjoy here and go discover, because it's a great place. I moved here in '75, and I'm still discovering stuff, so it's great.
Yes.
Well, I know the music department you guys have just gone out of your way to continue to make music such a critical part, especially of our time right now. And I wish you could see, we're trying to find a way for you to see all of the notes on Sundays so that you can, when you don't get to see our appreciation in person, it's important that you find it somehow. But so we've got these weekly offerings that you're doing. Tuesdays is musical moments. Tell us just a little bit of synopsis about each one of these. So musical moments is Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm. Musical moments on Tuesdays are various members of the music community here at Trinity. Some people are more expected than others, but sort of any manner of cool music making that they've got going on right now. So we've had, piano and trumpet. We've had guitars and singers. We've had all sorts of things. Large variety of people and music type, but for a chance for people to keep musicking while we can't music together. So
awesome. And then Wednesdays, you just added Uncovered Voices. What's that about?
Oh yeah, and we just changed that to Thursday actually. So
okay.
Voices Uncovered is will be recordings of Bruce and me playing our postlude series. Voices Uncovered is the name of the series, refers to music by Black composers, women composers, primarily those two groups, but other underrepresented composer groups. So everything we've played so far has either been composed by a Black composer or a woman composer. So we're going to do that all year and try to play more music by these people that don't get performed as much as often as they should. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's Thursdays now at 4 then.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Saturdays, Hymns Up Close?
Mm-hmm. It's a little mini lesson from Bruce and me about 2 or 3 of the upcoming hymns for the next Sunday, either morning or evening service. Plus, we take requests. So if you want to have a favorite hymn, or you want, if there's a hymn you've always wondered about, we'll dig it up. We'll dig up some info for you. So.
Oh, okay. Everybody out there, you're challenged with that. Well, I really have ever since he came and did the writings about the hymns, to me, it just gives so much more understanding about the hymn and a little bit usually about the composer or the words or whatever. So this is really a bonus for us. Thank you. Anything else that you want to share, Katie, before we say goodbye?
This guy. This is Mr. Felix.
Oh, Mr. Felix. And you said you've had him 7 years, is that right?
6 or 7, yep. He's like 13 or something. He's my old dude. But I got him the week before I started teaching middle school. I needed a friend. So he's lived in Minnesota and Indiana and Kansas and now Oregon. So he's a well-traveled.
Wow. Boy. Well, he's awesome. He's a wonderful, just playful, still cat. And I really enjoyed meeting him. Well, I'll just close by saying thank you and encourage everybody to take advantage of these weekly offerings that you're doing. And to say that our whole music season is on the website now. You go to, you select Deep Beauty and then select music. And I think the whole brochure comes up, and we mailed out a bunch of them too, but subject to change. Mm-hmm. But we've got some great plans already lined up, and know that you're just going to be a fabulous part of that. And I can't wait to see all that you have a chance to add to it and explore and discover here. So thank you, Katie.
Well, thank you.
We look forward to being together.
My goodness.
So next up is Spooktacular Friday, right?
Oh, yes. Just wait until you see our costumes. Oh my gosh.
So Friday at 7?
Mm-hmm. Friday at 7.
I think that's a ticketed event, and they can do that online. And then Sunday is All Saints at 5.
Our All Saints / All Souls special service with organ music from Bruce and choral music from an octet of Trinity's choir members. So.
Oh, wonderful. And I understand Pastoral Care is going to offer kind of an afterward reflective part. And I think that's going to be a really important addition this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again, my friend. I can't wait to see you.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara. And thanks for everybody for tuning in.
You bet. And anybody who's got any questions for Katie, you know how